Hi guys, my name is Leanne Kelley. I'm the communications and programs coordinator at the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum. And today we will be reading the Buffalo Soldier book. Awesome. Let's get started. Oh, the Buffalo Soldier book by Sherry Garland and illustrated by Ronald Himler. The news came on a hot, dusty day in June, 1865. Word spread like prairie fire from the big house, through the quarters, down to the bottom fields where Mama and us was chopping cotton. Old master, he looked pale as a ghost when he'd ride up and say, the cruel war is over at last. You'll be my slaves no more. Sister, she shouted and sang in jubilee. But Mama, she fell down on her knees and cried. Seems like this being freedmen's not what it's cracked up to be. One day, Mama up and says, we still got no land, got no money. What we got is plenty of sweat and toil, plowing another man's fields, picking another man's cotton. So I walked to New Orleans and put my X on the line where I hear tell the U.S. Army is looking for young Negro men to serve on the Western frontier. They promised to pay me $13 a month, more money than that I never saw it once. Surely a man can save it up and buy a piece of land to call his own. A soldier lives, works, and dies by the bugle. We get up at dawn to the sound of the reveille and muster for roll call and inspection. Then we tend the horses. Those animals get to eat before we do. We got drills and more drills and work details, cutting stones, laying bricks, putting up new buildings everywhere. Round 5 o'clock, we welcome the sound of retreat. Then round about 6, the call to the mess hall. It's mostly beans and pork and bread, maybe a little beef or sweet roast and ear. We just get a little time to ourselves before the bugle sounds tattoo, and we all repair to the barracks, to our lumpy mattresses stuffed with hay. Of an evening, whenever I get a chance, I go to school on the post. The chaplain teaches us to read and write and tells us about American history, too. I attend in the same room where the white soldiers' children get their learning during the day. Captain says, if I learn to read and write, maybe someday I'll get promoted to sergeant, as far as an enlisted man can get up the line. Just imagine what old master would say if he saw me now. Maybe I'll write him a letter to let him know I'm making something of myself. Every week we escort somebody, supply wagons full of goods, wagon trains of families, moving west to find their dreams, or mail coaches running to El Paso. It's the most common sight to see the soldiers racing down the road alongside a coach, horses at full gallop and guns blazing at the bayonets not far behind. When the Comanche moon is high in September, Indians come from now of nowhere, striking fast as lightning, then scattering to the wind. We go on patrols looking for their raiding parties who've left the reservations where they were put. The buffalo herds are mighty thin now, killed by buffalo runners who shot them down, took their hides and left their carcasses to rot in the sun. 3 million killed in 2 years, I heard tell. When I think of all the hungry Indians on the reserves, who can hardly any who have hardly any meat at all, can't blame them for running off now and again. Sometimes it gets powerfully lonely when we're camped out under the stars. I think about Mama and all the folks back home. Wonder if it's worth the trouble. Staying in the army, another hitch. But when I think about being in rags and hungry, too, guess it's not so bad after all. From time to time, we protect the telegraph crew and even help them set the poles and string the lines. We help the railroad surveyors find their way around. One year, we covered more than 1,000 miles mapping every river and creek and spring in this desolated and rugged no man's land. We went up mountains and down canyons to places where only cactus and rattlesnakes live. But I didn't mind the work, for it was better than doing drills. The paymaster wagon rolls in about every 2 months in a cloud of dust, escorted by soldiers in blue. We are in the highest spirits you ever saw. Some of the men squander their pay on foolishness in the nearby town, where saloons and gambling parlors burst at the seams. My friend spends his money on fancy goods from the post trader's store, a gold watch chain, a bright bow tie, or straw hat, a plug of chewing tobacco, tins of tasty food. But I have better things to do with my hard-earned money. I send what wages I can to Mama and save the rest to buy a piece of land where cotton and corn will grow tall. Got my eye on a pretty washerwoman named Sally who works on Suds Row, and I know she likes me too. We plan to marry come June. Can't wait to move out the barracks, where the smell of stinky feet and dirty boots won't be missed one bit. Holidays are something special around here. No work or drills all day long. The officers' wives throw a fine celebration. They deck out the main hall and set up tables of food. Soldiers have foot races, boxing, and baseball. But best of all is the regimental band. They play music so sweet and good, it makes your feet want to do a jig. The officers and their wives look grand in their fancy clothes and high buttoned shoes, dancing waltzes and quadrilles. Me and Sally know a dance or two ourselves. Time is marching on and taking me with it. Served in forts from Kansas to Texas to Arizona, and now to this cold land in the Sioux. Had children born here, there, and in between. Spent time fighting Apache, Comanche, kids like Victorio and Geronimo, and followers of old gray-haired Sitting Bull. Sally says she hopes my fingers freeze off so I can't sign up for 5 more years. Been in the Army for 30 years. I'm proud to say that I now wear first sergeant's stripes on my sleeves. When the Indian Wars ended back in 1890, thought I'd seen all the fighting I would ever see. But now here we are getting ready to charge up San Juan Hill to help out Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders in this Spanish-American War. I promised Sally, if I live through this, I'll leave the Army for good. And this time, I mean it. Well, sir, here I am, an old man stooped and bent, That fertile valley below is where herds of buffalo once shook the ground, where the Comanche and the Kiowa once whooped and hollered wild and free, where cowboys once drove longhorns up miles and miles of trail. They're gone now, one and all, and a highway splits the hills. Yesterday, I got a letter from my grandson who was fighting in the Second World War. He said the Army wants to disband the cavalry and do away with horses for good. Now that's a shame, seeing as how a man can't talk to his Jeep on a lonely winter day. My grandson was complaining about the food, about the saddle soreness, and the loneliness, about his sergeant who's mean as a skunk. I just had to smile and nod my head. You see, once I was a soldier too. And that's the end. So you can definitely come by when you come to visit the museum. This book is located in our gift shop. So if you enjoyed it today, then pick it up and have it on display in your house. So it's a pretty book. It has great pictures. And thank you for joining us today at this story time. Bye.